Question number 7, Mike Sabin.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. For the Minister of Social Development, how will the Government's recently announced changes target young people not in education, employment or training?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, the changes we've announced targets up to 14,000 at-risk 16 and 17-year-olds, most of whom are not yet on a benefit but are on a collision course with the benefit system. We're going to contract with youth service providers to work with these young people to place them in work-based learning, education or training, potentially youth guarantee places, my colleague referred to in his earlier question. We'll pay providers on their success in working with and placing the young person in education, training or work-based learning a financial bonus.
Mike Sabin.
Supplementary to the Minister, Mr Speaker. What has been the impact of the global economic recession on young people?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, since the Government took office in late 2008, we have seen those not in education, employment or training rise from 10.9% in December 2008 to 13.1% in December 2011, a rise that we would rather not have seen, I'm sure. However, before the opposite side start jumping up and down, from 2004 to 2008, the net rate actually rose, fluctuating between 10.3% and 12%, when we had a labour market that was essentially crying out for workers, which is why we've got to target these young people. They've been left behind. We can and we must do better by them.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker.
Mike Sabin.
To the Minister, how will at-risk 16 and 17-year-olds be picked up by the system?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, we know that around 90% of these 14,000 young people will end up on benefit unless we ensure they continue in education, training or a work-based opportunity, or even in some cases get themselves into it. But currently we don't know where they are, and that is the reality. In some places we do, where we have schools in real time giving that information to service providers, but it is patchy and not happening consistently enough. We will be changing the rules so that schools are directly and in real time letting a service provider know when that young person has left school, so we can connect to them quickly and in an appropriate manner so that we can then wrap those services around them.
Jacinda Ardern.
Supplementary to the Minister. Does she accept that her targeting of solely 16 and 17-year-olds is leaving young people behind, with youth transition services saying that her changes to their contracts will mean that up to 60% of the young people they are dealing with now will no longer be covered?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, I think we've identified why we're targeting those 16 and 17-year-olds, and really clearly, and hopefully the members starting to get that they really are those that are most at risk. But different YDS is different and work in different ways. For example, the one on West Auckland will tell you that 70% of those young people they work with are 16 or 17-year-olds. There will also be a small percentage that they are able to work outside of that, because we recognise there's needing to be a little bit of flexibility. But for them to target where we most need it, I think is necessary and will give us the right kind of results for those young people.
Jacinda Ardern.
To the Minister, how much of the $17.15 million that has already been drawn down to fund IT changes for her youth package was for her payment card, which on her own estimates will affect only 2,800 people?
The Honourable Paula Bennett.
Mr Speaker, I don't have the breakdown of that in front of me, but what I can tell the member is that the IT systems that we're building up alongside the youth payment and alongside Bill 1 sort of changes are also those that will be going into the bigger welfare reforms. So we're actually setting the whole system up. We're using this as the first tranche of that, but they will be actually used in the whole reform process.
Question number 8, Denise Roche.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Prime Minister, does he stand by his